Welcome to InGeneral, the Jurassic Outpost podcast, episode 149. My name is Jack. I'm joined with Caleb, Alex, and our special guest, Daniel Stephen. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. This is the second podcast I think you've been on now, right?
I think, number 2, I think it's been second time in about a month or 2 months, 3 months maybe. So I'm very excited to talk.
When was the last time you came on? It was more than that, I think.
You know what? It feels like it's only been 2 months, but maybe it has been longer than that.
Yeah.
I think the episode was titled the Resurrection of Jurassic Park 3 or the Renaissance of Jurassic Park 3 or something.
Which is funny because the French title for the new movie is Renaissance, right?
Le Renaissance.
Le Renaissance. Yeah. Rebirth. Okay, so I do want to ask you your thoughts on Rebirth. See, that's why I wanted to know when you were last on, because I'm not sure if it was that long ago that there wasn't a Rebirth movie yet.
You know what? Okay. Maybe it's been more than a couple months now that I think about it, but I'm always listening to your podcast. So, I mean, I feel like I'm a part of it, more often. It's been only one time, but it might have been 4 months ago for all we know. So, yeah, lots changed since we last talked. I think it
was at least before we knew the title of the movie. Yeah.
Probably.
Before we knew Renaissance. But, okay, so what did you think of the trailer? Because I have so many thoughts about it. I think it's definitely catering to a slightly different audience the last three did. I think they've said as much themselves. But what did you think of it when you first saw it?
Yeah, my first reaction was kind of like relief. Like I just felt like, okay, this is. I mean, after the trailers for like Fallen Kingdom, like I was pretty excited, but that movie really let me down. But I feel like Rebirth is literally a rebirth, it's like a fresh start, and it's what I've seen on screen so far. Yeah, the reference is like I feel like it's Jurassic Park 3, Part 2. Like it's what David Koepp would have done if he had the time to write it. But I mean, I love seeing the Spinos, obviously, but
that's a contentious issue, the Spinosaurus. See, because people aren't set on this design. Some people really love it. It's more paleo accurate, I think. I don't know. Somebody said something about like there's a paper that's supposed to drop that's going to shed new light on the Spinosaurus or something. I don't know. But it's very different to the JP3 Spinosaurus. And as a JP3 aficionado, I mean, are you offended?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely disappointed. I mean, I don't want to admit that on, Twitter or Instagram because like people just kind of come out of nowhere and attack you for, your beliefs about the Spino. But if it was the JP3 design, I feel like my excitement level would be 15 to 20% higher. It's not too much, but I feel like, we're getting the Spino back, but not quite. It's somewhere in the middle, but I'm happy to have the dino back on screen. And I just like that. I hate when they kind of ignore JP3. And I feel like the Jurassic World trilogy, Colin just did his own thing. His co-writer, Derek Connolly, didn't see the previous films at that point, like he famously said, and I don't think they were necessarily like, cared too much of JP3, focused on like referencing the first film. So when I see the Spino back on screen and David Koepp writing again, I'm like, I feel like this is what I've wanted for a long time, but I'm cautiously optimistic because I've been, hurt by the Jurassic World films at times before.
You've been hurt before. Yeah.
I have been. I mean, listen, between 2001 and 2015, like those were dark times. That's like
it was dark times.
Middle school, high school, college, like daydreaming in class. Like, man, what's JP4 going to be about? And then, like,
my God,
you get it 14 years later, and it's not. Well, Jurassic World, like, I do like it. I don't love it, but I don't think it could have ever met my level of expectations. Right? I mean, it was probably impossible. But
do you think that part of that was because the story, and this isn't a critique on the story itself, but because the story was a new park? Did that have any effect on your kind of level of excitement for Jurassic World?
Yeah, for sure. Because everything I wanted was the abandoned park. I wanted buildings falling apart. And the thing is, like, maybe Jurassic World still could have done that. I mean, the park actually operating, when you had the two boys go off and see the original visitor center, like that in itself could have been a whole movie. Like these park guests wandered into the old park and we had to get them back. Like that would just fascinate me But I mean, again, like a lot of years of daydreaming about an abandoned park. And then when you see Fallen Kingdom, it's like, oh, we finally got an abandoned Nublar, and they just burn it to the ground. It's like, you take it
That's
kind of
so true.
personally. I mean,
Is
it's so much.
Rebirth looking like your daydreams of middle school and high school?
Well, I mean, Rebirth is. It's almost. I'm hoping the great goal for me would be I can watch JP3 and then go right into Rebirth and skip the Jurassic World movies and just watch them right into
It
it.
feels like you probably can do that.
Yeah,
I'm really
I hope
hoping.
so
I mean,
too. That literally would be the goal, and not again. No, I'm sure. Like David Koepp has said himself, it's supposed to be no retcons. We're going to cater to. It feels like it's catering to everyone, but at the same time, it does feel like a bit of a direct. Like you could skip the world movies and the plot still makes sense. It kind of
I
gets.
think it's fair to say that it's tying like a little bit more to park than world. Like it's tying to both, but I think it's fair to say that it's tying more to park because they say park in the trailer. So
right.
Yeah, they don't talk about this is where the dinosaurs for the original world. One interest. I just kind of want to go back a sec. One interesting thing you said about the when you were daydreaming about JP4. We all were. I remember the same thing. And the roller coaster ride that Frank Marshall would take us on for those 15 years of it's coming. No. We haven't got a script or anything. Like all that. Um, at no point did I daydream or really dream of a night dream of a new park. Like I never had never been something I'd want. Had it been anything like Caleb? Would you ever? Would that something you wanted? Like, is that something anyone actually wanted?
I think it's more that like I saw it as something that would actually happen. Like because like just the capitalistic side of John Hammond's dream and like we really want to achieve this and like there are probably some good intentions there as far as like showing people dinosaurs and making them more accessible to the world and that whole idea. I don't know. I think nowadays the way I look at it is like the open park and the consequences of that over 3 movies is like just one way that the story could have gone when there are like dozens of others waiting there to be told. And I think like the abandoned InGen stuff, which is what we're getting to now, is just another one. Like it's just possibly an even better story thread to follow. So
Yeah, and I get it's tough because I understand back then when they were potentially going to make the 4th Jurassic, they were probably thinking, well, we can't just do the abandoned InGen buildings on an island again because we've just done that and it wasn't that
right,
successful.
and so like maybe a way to look at it is like, okay, that park, the open park storyline has been exhausted now. Like we can say that definitively, and like maybe that's a good thing.
I don't know. 10 years time, they might be like, it all just goes in cycles. Everyone's forgotten. Let's do it again.
They're going to remake Jurassic
Money.
in 10 years. But okay, getting back to the trailer though, I do feel that was kind of my point. I never daydreamed about an open park or any of that or somebody remaking Jurassic Park and doing it again but successful. But I did daydream about things that I'm seeing in the Rebirth trailer. Another island,
Scarlett Johansson,
Scarlett Johansson, yeah,
Jonathan Bailey.
And I think it's definitely closer to what JP4 was going to be back in the day, or at least what I thought like we might see for that. More abominations, more of the scarier stuff. So I definitely hope it's going back to that tone. But has your perception of the trailer changed at all, Daniel, or is it you kind of still on the it's great?
Yes, a little bit. I mean, I think because the first couple of viewings, it was just like pure excitement, just catching every detail. Then the Spino design hit me a little bit and kind of, knocked me down a few notches. But
Yeah.
now that I reflect on it, because I mean, I've watched the JP3 trailer, so many times. I mean, it's just like burned into my brain, right? And those trailers made JP3 seem a little more serious or darker than it actually was, right? Whereas Rebirth, I expect to be more serious and probably darker than JP3, but the trailer itself, Scarlett's lines, like the somewhat comedic jokes, kind of like, it's interesting, where it's like they're kind of marketing it like, little bit more fun.
Mm.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm probably thinking too much into it, but it's interesting how they market. I think I was even surprised they showed the family in the trailer. And like, if you read the comments on YouTube, people saying like, someone brought their family to the island, like just
Oh, I've seen a lot of the
Yeah, I
kids.
saw
there's
someone
nothing
saying somehow
positive.
they found a way to bring a kid again.
Right? Yeah, and it's like it's true. Like it's something probably not worth marketing, or at least not yet, maybe. But it's just like a kid
Mm.
appears in the trailer. But overall, I mean, everything I wanted when I watched JP3, it's like I wanted Grant to find out about InGen making more dinosaurs, or coming across like a working lab or something that's out of place. It's like brand new that shouldn't be there.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
like the storyline you wanted. So when I see this trailer, I'm like, oh, I think we're finally gonna get
Mm.
what I wanted in JP3. So that's what gets me excited. I'm glad the Jurassic World movies are done. I wasn't big on dinos on the mainland. Not something I really cared too much about, even though,
Not in the way that it was done. I kind
Mm.
of I always wanted that, like, wait, how did they get off? Like, there's like populations of them in Costa Rica. The way the novels tackled that is the kind of
Mm.
story that we always were told was coming in a way. They'd always kind of hint at Costa Rican mainland and rural villages being attacked by
yeah,
raptors.
It was too
That
much of
was,
a jump. It was too much of a jump in the world films, I think. Like you're saying there, we wanted a slow epidemic and the mystery of the thing kind of unraveling, whereas it was just like they were there and now they're here.
yeah,
Deal
like
with
the
it.
whole local legend thing and
Mm.
people not believing the villagers, saying there's something in the woods that's attacking our, and that whole, because you can play into that, and
Mm.
I think that would have been fun, but it does kind of feel like Rebirth going back to go forward, push the franchise in a new direction. It's going back to even before what we've seen, which I think is really interesting. What do you think I don't even know what to call it. I've been calling it the mutant.
Amy.
Amy, yeah.
the
Amy.
the abomination.
Derek dubbed it Amy, and I actually kind of like, because it's like, oh, Amy, like it's a lovely,
Third
sweet.
third podcast in a row that Amy has made an appearance.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's a Congo reference. It's a good solid Crichton name.
It is,
yeah.
yeah.
So what do you think of Amy, and how does she fit in?
uh, I'm unsure at this point. I don't. It makes sense. Like it 100% makes sense there be some abomination creature, right? Um, it's not what I expected. I don't know if it even needed it necessarily, but um, you know that I'm optimistic. That's all I can say. It's not what I wanted or needed, but it makes sense, and I fully like. This is what you'd expect InGen to be doing. Just different disasters of dinosaurs, just horrific creatures all over the place. So I mean, it looks massive. I'm curious, like what it's gonna play into the film as far as how quick can it move. Like is it
Yeah.
just a slow moving creature? Is it So it'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, I really don't know what to expect. I'm surprised they showed it in the trailer already, but
Mm.
I guess it does get people talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that must have been their goal with it. It's like, did you see the new
Mm.
Jurassic? No, it's more of the same. And then the comeback's like, well, this one has
My
a big
my
crazy.
new my new thought about that is that maybe they showed us this one because there's more that they're not showing. But
Mm.
like
Ooh, yeah,
more
that could be.
mutants or more abominations or something. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we got a two-headed raptor that was
Yeah.
in the cryogenic chamber, but there's a lot of stuff in the trailer which makes you think, obviously the shot with the guy banging on the glass, you get the impression that isn't in the same timeline as the film. That took place earlier or something. We don't know. That could happen in the timeline
Mm.
of the film. But you get the impression that we're going to see this lab in its original state, and that by the time we do catch up to it in the movie, things have kind of gone wrong, and it's either been abandoned or something has destroyed part of it. And we were talking last time about the design of the lab. Where do you sit with that? 'Cause it doesn't quite look like what we've seen before, but it also doesn't bother me. But it looks more alien, right?
It does. I'm simple. I like. I think it looks good. It looks good new and it looks good abandoned. Um, I don't require too much to get excited about that. Engine Labs. That's all I want. In JP3, I wanted 5 more minutes of them exploring. So
Mm.
I
Well,
feel like we'll get. quite a bit of
Give
that.
me the whole movie in that abandoned lab.
Ooh, I would watch that. Yeah.
But didn't they? Wasn't there an original screenplay where they spent the night, or did they spend the night in the lab, or did they spend
The
the night?
UVH says something about it, yeah, and I can't think if it's. It must be Johnston, then goes on and says like, "Oh, it felt a bit contrived." And you're reading this like, "No, I fucking loved that. Like, make that movie."
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I wonder how much time we will actually spend in this lab exploring it, exploring those kind of weird embryos and creations. But that's all that, as you said, that's all the kind of material that I wanted in a JP4 is that abomination lab, or like the things that went wrong, or the embryos. It's harkening back to those JP3 concept posters with the embryo dinosaur in the logo, or even the baby, the fetus. Like, it's weird, but it's like the kind of it's going into the darker aspects that the darker aspects of experimentation. And I think that's what I wanted to ask. Do you think that the mutant is a failed attempt at a dinosaur, or do you think that somebody has intentionally made this thing?
Yeah, I guess I assumed it was a failed attempt, but I mean, that's a good question. I mean, that could make sense, but to me, it was just like, well, I guess, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't a failed attempt, I mean, did someone do it on purpose? How long has it been living there? When you talk about, what's the synopsis say? Like, it's been a dark secret for decades.
Yeah, hidden from the world for decades.
Right. So it's like, yeah, it could be this island completely, or it could be this abomination on the island. I mean, yeah, and that's I guess that's something that gets me excited about it. You know, Dominion, Fallen Kingdom did not have like this kind of hook for me that kind of like brought me in, where I'm like, I need to know more. Whereas this movie, this trailer, like, yeah, I mean, these are like genuine questions like I'm gonna be thinking about for the next few months.
Yeah, it's hype. It's
I kind of wish it wasn't coming out until like next year or something, because I mean, it's like it happened so quick that Rebirth was in production and it's already coming out, and then after that, like, I don't know. I've been trying to think, like, how could Rebirth end where there's a sequel where it's like not dinos on the mainland or not going back to the island again. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, there's lots to think about.
That's a fun question to think about, because like I can't really think of a resolution yet. Like, how are we gonna?
That's the thing. It can't just go back, right? It can't end with, oh, the dinosaurs have got out, because we just escaped from that. They all died, or at least from what we've led to believe. I wonder if they'll go down like a disease route. Maybe they are leaving this island. Isn't it right at the end of the Lost World novel that Malcolm sneezes blood, and they talk about this DX, disease X, and maybe it's transferred to humans? Isn't that right at the end of the Lost World novel?
If
I'm only halfway through it.
We're all
yes,
if I swear something like that happens.
It's been over a year since I read it last, but if I remember correctly, yes.
Something like that happens. I wonder if the same will be applied here. Maybe they learn something. Maybe something is happening in the world globally. We speculated about that. Nothing in the trailer has hinted at that, but we thought maybe something in the world is happening globally that's either affecting humans or will start to affect humans. It's also affected the dinosaurs, hence why maybe they're dying out. We thought maybe that would be disease X, like a protein, prion disease or something. None of the trailer has hinted at that, but maybe that's something that they're going to start setting up. Maybe they leave the island and they're like, I don't know, something happens that's, because yeah, you're right. Like, where can you take that? Maybe that's not the intention. Maybe they want to end the movie and the movie ends.
Like, I was saying I can't think of a resolution or a way that we're like gonna, I don't know. I can't think of how they're gonna contain this at the end. So I just don't know where it's gonna go. But
yeah, or if they'll even be able to kill this mutant thing.
What if the mutant has been kept alive because they realize that its body produces some compound that is life-saving or something? Like, maybe that's why it's been kept alive. It's this horrible thing, but it produces some chemical or something in its body that helps humans or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting. Like maybe they're able to test the samples they're collecting on the way, and perhaps this thing somehow, green light for all three of the things they were looking for in the other three specimens. I don't know. But then it also kind of feels like the back half of the movie is mostly them on the run more than anything else. I mean, they still have the suitcase with them, but by that point, what are our three big dinos again? The mosasaur, the Kets, and the
Titanosaur.
Titanosaur. Yeah. So by that point, they've been and seen all three. They've got their three samples. I don't know. It feels more to me like the second half of this film is all about escape and rescue, a la, standard JP formula.
Does anyone think that Alan Grant's going to make an appearance?
I mean,
I don't know.
never say never. No, I think
Maybe
they're
on
all
a dust
done.
jacket.
I think the actors themselves are probably done.
I think Goldblum's been at the forefront to distract us, while Sam Neill has been secretly filming Rebirth.
Be cool if he was in that museum scene at the beginning.
It would be. I mean, I feel like Dominion just like really let the character down. Just kind of drop the ball on that.
Jonathan Bailey said his character has some connection. So
yeah,
maybe the connection is that they go to Grant first, and he says no. He's like finally like, you know
great.
what? I've done this 3 times.
I've done this
no.
before.
Yeah.
Really would be JP3 too.
Exactly. Yes.
Dan, have you seen the trailer in theaters? Have you been to the cinema recently? Have you?
I've not.
Okay, yeah.
No, I wish. But
Alex,
was it playing it? Yeah, I saw it.
Caleb,
Yes,
you
I was
saw it
going to
too?
ask if Alex did, because I did as well, and we both saw.
Yeah, but we saw
Captain
different.
America.
I saw the Super Bowl cut. You saw the original
Oh
trailer.
yeah,
no?
I saw Captain America in Dolby, and it was the full trailer, not the Super Bowl cut.
Okay.
It's interesting
So this-
they're playing the Super Bowl one in theaters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting.
It was a
Maybe-
boutique theater chain, so I wondered if that had something to do with it.
Somebody's just loading it up on YouTube and pressing play.
Maybe, but it looked crisp as fuck.
It was cool to like be in public in a movie theater, and it's like, yeah, there's a Jurassic trailer showing right now. That's a good thing.
Daniel, are they showing it anywhere at Universal at the minute? You just visited like in the last week or two, and they're normally pretty hot on that kind of thing.
I didn't know. I mean, all I saw was some of the T-shirts and hats in the gift shop.
Oh,
I didn't see much beyond that. I mean, what was kind of surprising when you get off the ride, you exit through the gift shop. There's still a lot of Jurassic Park like banners up top. Whereas like a couple of years ago, I went and they still had the Jurassic Park 3 behind the scenes photo like framed, and it was beautiful. But they've since taken them down. But yeah, it was still Jurassic Park. So like Rebirth is like there right when you walk in, the T-shirts, but not too much beyond that from what I saw.
Did you get a hat? Did you get a shirt?
You know, I stare at the hat a long time, and here's what I did with Jurassic World. I bought the shirt before I saw the movie, and I wore it like all the time. And someone said to me like, "Hey, what if the movie's bad?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, it's impossible." And I didn't. While the Jurassic World is not a bad movie, I didn't want to do the same with Rebirth, where I'm like wearing the gear, the hat, the shirt. Everyone sees me, and then the movie comes out, and I'm like
buying the jersey of your favorite player before they even play, and then they are bad, or their team sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's so. I decided not to, but I almost.
That's a very very smart decision. If it's good, we can all get shirts that say,
the price of those things is going to skyrocket.
Yeah, price of those. But we'll
if
get
it's good,
screenplay
we'll invest in it. We'll invest.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I need to go to the cinema soon, so I kind of hope that it's there. I want to see it. It's such a visually stunning trailer. The footage, it's Gareth Edwards, who likes shooting dark. He's very good with VFX. Working with somebody that John Matheson that shoots film, so it's really exciting to see that collaboration, and I want to see how that pulls off, because I bet it looked gorgeous being projected, like a dark room.
It did look good, yeah, for sure.
It looked vibrant. It had color. It was nice.
Yeah.
And we're getting one thing the trailer omitted was a shot of the raptor. The only thing we saw were the raptor claws, but we've got a new velociraptor in this one. Have you seen the... I don't want to call them leaks. They're just balloons. Did you see the balloons, Daniel?
Balloons.
Yeah, I did, and I was pretty shocked by them. I mean, I'm very happy with the look of them.
Yeah.
Any
The balloons are leaking air.
Just shocks me. So.
I'm seeing so much crap about them. I'm seeing like, oh, Universal used AI, therefore I'm out. And I don't know if they're
they didn't.
Are they AI?
They didn't use AI, to be clear.
Yeah, I think they just worked from the blue image, right? The blue key art.
And some of the creases on these balloon and plate images look funky too.
Yeah.
Like AI funky.
And they have like on merchandise like that, there's like lines and marks where you're supposed to cut them or fold them, and like there's stuff like that. So it's just
maybe the real Raptor has that, like fold here.
Yeah.
It's made out of cardboard, yeah.
InGen 0.5 Raptor.
0.5, yeah.
But the Raptor, yeah, that's what I was going to say. The Raptor looks good. It looks kind of like a natural evolution of the JP3 one. It looks like what the next... Because, when they were making those movies, they weren't like, oh, where does this Raptor fit in? They were like, we need a new Raptor for The Lost World, so we'll get the Tiger Stripe Raptor. We need a new Raptor for JP3. Let's give them quills. Let's do all that. They weren't thinking like, when did InGen breed this version of the Velociraptor? That's all fan association, right? So this Raptor feels like the natural, like the next step of the JP3 one in a way. It's kind of like gone down a different color path, but it also kind of looks less... It doesn't have a stripe down its body or anything like that, like the JP3 one. Looks like a good Raptor. Looks like the JP4 Raptor,
I think so. I think it's exactly what I wanted. So hopefully on screen it looks good. I know I was one of the people that saw Jurassic World in 3D opening night. And I'm still like, I can remember seeing the Raptors and how weird they looked on screen. And that's just a mistake I don't want to think about again. I'm really hoping the Raptors they look beautiful from what I've seen so far, but who knows? We'll see on screen.
Yeah, I'm excited to get the proper like in film look, and I'm wondering if it's something they're going to omit from the trailer entirely. Like
how does the look of the balloon? I don't want to call it a balloon, but find the balloon. How does that match up to the one we see in the tank with the two heads? Are they not similar in their kind of design and patterning?
Oh, that's a good point.
I hadn't given it much thought, but
if my visual memory serves me, they're different.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the one in the tank has the quills.
It's got its head turned, so you kind of... I think you'd be able to see them, but it's also kind of hard to tell.
The skull structure is also different, if I'm not mistaken. Like the new one, the white one, the red, white, and blue one. It has sort of some little crests and notches in its the front of its skull structure, and the one in the tank is much more towards level, like a...
I mean, so maybe maybe we're going to see some sexual dimorphism. What's the right expression here? Sexual dimorphism again?
Yeah, sexual dimorphism. Yes.
Because we've not really had that since JP3, have we? Like Jurassic World has just been every species is one design. That's it, regardless of gender.
There were some species outside of the raptors in the Jurassic World trilogy that had sexual dimorphism, but the raptors didn't really. So
yeah, well, I'm comparing the two, the one in the tank and the new render.
They're different.
They are. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess. You see, the head is turned so you can't see the quills. But also with the one in the tank, I don't know if you, Daniel, if you saw any of the like super high res screenshots, but when you really zoom in on the raptor head, the second head looks almost like unformed, like it's the start of a head that's being grown, but it hasn't, like the mouth can't even open yet, if you know what I mean. It kind of looks like it's weird. Like it hasn't.
To me, it kind of looked like the end of the cephalopod from Abyss.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. But it does have... The raptor does look like it has the same stripes on the nose, so maybe it is meant to be the same raptor.
I don't know. Yeah.
The same, stripes on that part of the...
Oh,
so
yeah.
In front of the eyes.
the thinking at this point that the film probably starts off with this like flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Safe bet.
I kind of get the impression that the we're probably so wrong, but I get the impression that the inciting incident is the uh, the all the stuff with the mutant behind in the tank. Like maybe the InGen scientists are trying to they're rushing to destroy it. Oh, we've created this abomination. It's going crazy. We need to kill it, and they can't or something. I don't know. I get the impression the inciting incident is going to be like that. I mean, what I can't even remember. The inciting incident for Fallen Kingdom was the one where they break the Mosasaurus out.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Dominion inciting incident?
It had a prologue.
Oh, the prologue, yeah, and then the
drive-in theater and all that stuff.
God, it's deep in the memory bank. I could not remember what that.
Yeah, they should. It would be more in your memory bank if they had done what they should have done, which is left it attached to the fucking movie.
the prologue, you mean?
Yeah.
Because theatrically, it goes straight in with the Now This news segment, doesn't it? Oh, it's the fishing trawler from Greatest Catch.
It's so much better with the prologue attached.
Yeah. I kind of get the impression that the inciting incident is going to kind of be a completely separate entity, like it was in the first Jurassic Park, where it takes place. You don't kind of know when it takes place, but it takes place before everything we're seeing here. I think it's them in the original lab. I think the Raptor two-headed Raptor shot is part of that original sequence, because the tank. I think Alex, you made a really good point. Like the tank, when we see him in the kind of broken lab, all the tanks are drained and empty, and this Raptor tank is fully operational. It looks like so, unless they wake the beast, I think we're going to see it for the opening of the film. What was your timeline, Alex, for when you think the Raptor stuff takes place in this film?
What, the claw shot in the
the claw shot, because it's like a flooded environment.
Yeah, so I genuinely think the set we saw on the back lot at Sky Studios, I think it's it's called the fuel depot, because we saw that sign that got leaked, not leaked, but just left on location, and it looks like it's got like a petrol station, gas station style roof to it, and then we saw a shot of Duncan in front of it in the behind the scenes reel. Frank set that picture. I think we're looking at like a little general store, and the Raptors walking between the shelves. I think they're doing a play on the kitchen sequence in a different but similar enough environment.
Oh,
It's
no
walking
way!
down the
You think it's like a
aisles.
store, like
100%.
InGeneral store.
Yeah. And I think we see them. The shot of Jonathan Bailey where he says those are raptors. It is in that locale. You can see the compound fence behind them, and you've still got he's there. They've met up with the family again. Krebs is there in the background. So I'd say it's after everything with the cats. I mean, the sun's gone down, so it's at the end of that day for sure. But Lord knows if by this point they've ventured into the lab part of the facility, or if they can get to the lab from here, because it's still quite a small looking little compound. It's kind of hard to tell. Plus, we see them drive one of those Jeep chariot, whatever you want to call them, thingies out of that compound. It's honestly the second half of the film. I couldn't tell you how everything's laid out. It's such you can look shot to shot to shot and still not quite piece it together. It's before the dock, because Krebs isn't on the dock, but he is there with them in this little town, village, outpost, whatever you want to call it. But
so they obviously survive whatever is happening with the Raptors here.
I don't think Krebs will. I think that's where he's gonna get munched.
Krebs gets munched by the Raptors. Hopefully he gets a proper Udesky style on screen, slit down the back, destroy the spine type thing.
Yes,
kind
please.
Of what we want.
Yes, please.
Those Raptors, they've completely omitted from the trailer except for the feet and a reference to them, which I'm excited about. We've seen the render now, so we kind of know what it's going to look like, but I kind of do hope they keep the Raptors completely out of any marketing. It would just be fun to see that scene for the first time in the movie. It's been a while since the Raptors have been, just a threat. I mean, you kind of did with the atrocities. They were kind of threat, but they're still like controlled by Soyona and all that. Just having Raptors as predators again, it's going to be That's gonna be good. Like walking into
Living
the
without
Raptor.
fences, without boundaries on this island
Yeah. And for 4 years.
It's
for a
well,
lot
funny you
longer than
say
4
that though.
years.
Like, it's interesting that yet again they're attracted to another InGen compound. Like, what is it about raptors that as soon as the humans move out, they're like, right, I'm having that. That's mine.
Yeah. They're patrolling these
They're just
buildings.
we humans are just the perfect size. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love it. It's like that Lost World DVD where when it would load the menu, it would be the gas station and the Raptor would jump, smash through the glass. Was that just the American version, or was it just the
No, we
European?
had it in the UK. We had it in the UK.
Okay, yeah, because I swear there's a version of the DVD where that doesn't happen or something. There was like 2 variants.
I think it was the collectors around it's when DVDs became a thing and they were releasing the JP and the Lost
Animated
World
menus
together.
and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember. Good times. That I'll never forget that JP3 teaser trailer that's on the the first Jurassic Park and Lost World DVD, the one that goes through the mist in the jungle and just roars. Just the classic trailer.
Yeah.
Shows the shot of the island. Okay, but back to these renders though. We also, as well as the Raptor, we also have the T-Rex, which is your generic. It doesn't even really look like the one in the trailer. It's kind of just a generic gray T-Rex.
I think it's a product of rushed timelines.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
because we know that when Gareth, well, I don't know if we know this, but when Gareth joined the production, I'm sure he had some input on dinosaur designs. He probably wanted to be like, I kind of want this to look a little more.
The one in the film is like starkly different. So it's like, either this is a different Rex or it's like, what is this?
I think now they're probably at a point because they have to market these films. They always have to be like, oh, it's Rexy or it's blue, you know? And they always, Universal always seem to want like, oh, it's an icon dinosaur. Maybe they're just like, now they're just giving us a generic T-Rex.
It's bluey.
It's bluey. It's gray. The T-Rex.
It's gray.
But the Spinosaurus is there, and that does more so look like the one in the trailer. I don't know, it's weird. I always find it weird looking at Spinosaurus when they're not the JP3 one, because that one is so ingrained visually in the Jurassic formula, you know? The blue and the white.
I like this new render of it a lot. Like, maybe more than what we've seen so far. It just looks really aggressive, to be honest.
It's nice to see it out of the water in a sort of a standing pose, I guess, because it just looks weird on the boat in the trailer, or when it like is sort of stuck on the boat. It sort of looks like a seal when seals get stuck on their belly on something, you know. I kind of the Spino in the trailer kind of does that when it's up on the boat, but
like a crocodile, yeah.
I guess, yeah, it is kind of like crocodile too. Yeah, it's not. I'm excited. Hopefully, we do see the Spinosaurus on land, and we get you know, the comparison with like the Cooper scene. Maybe I don't know.
I hope so. I'd be disappointed if we don't see it on land.
That's I hope there's like some. David Koepp said the previous events of these movies have happened, so like I hope he like gives a little nod to JP3 in there or something.
Maybe instead of hitting the sail with a plane, they plow into it with a boat instead.
Maybe that's what triggers them. Yeah. Maybe they sail on right through. But they're it's interesting that I'm sure we're going to see more renders. I kind of hope they're careful about renders of the mutant, because obviously these renders are a little, they're not exact. I guess they're not like fully film accurate. They're not cartoonified, but they're a bit more polished,
stylized.
Yeah, they're stylized. Yeah,
good word. Yeah, I don't really want to see the mutant balloon.
I always think the poses are quite exaggerated. Like, I guess they kind of have to be because they're flat and still. If you show something else, it might not look like it's in motion, but they always seem to be doing like a really dramatic pose that doesn't look quite kosher.
Yeah. This Raptor's kind of contorted in a weird way, but I do wonder. Yeah, I hope they keep a lid on the mutant designs and the mutant balloons, because I'd rather that be kept a mystery. I don't want to see its whole form yet.
Her name is Amy.
Yeah. Amy's designs. I'm curious, but I think we were talking earlier about the mutant either being something new that somebody has created or a mistake. And I think there was I can't remember who made, was it Goji Center on YouTube? They did a really good video about the mutant, and they did some recreations, a 3D model of it, turntable and stuff. You get a really good sense about what this thing's going to look like. But they showed you that the jawline is totally T-Rex, the bottom jaw, and it's even the mandibles and stuff. It really does look like a T-Rex. So I do get the impression that it's a failed attempt at a T-Rex, which is very Jurassic coded. And the whole idea of, go back to the first film, they talk about using frog DNA, and that's why the dinosaurs, that's how they filled in the sequence gaps. What if this was not frog DNA? What if they used different DNA? Or what if they used too much frog DNA? Or what if they used a different type of frog? And it created this kind of mutant hybrid. I feel like that is very Jurassic. That's very Crichton-y. It's very sciencey. David Koepp spoken about how this one goes back to the science, and the science is real. I definitely think it fits in. Obviously, context and how it's played on screen is going to be a huge factor. Hopefully, it doesn't just feel like, oh, we have a big new mutant thing creature now that's following us. I hope it plays into the idea of being a mistake and being a failed attempt, and the dangers and repercussions that come with that. It'd be a shame if it does just kind of play as, like in Romulus, they create a new alien thing and it's gonna kill us, and then we kill it, and then it's the end. Hopefully that doesn't happen with the mutant. I hope it kind of has more to it, and we learn more and we dive more into the science and why it exists.
David kept talking about the science, and also like excuse me, his past 2 novels, like those give me hope as far as him making up some weird sci-fi shit about this mutant to explain it. And so yeah, I hope that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Daniel, you are a JP3 aficionado. You know almost too much about the third Jurassic film. But for real, when watching the Rebirth trailer and everything we know about Rebirth now, and in all the versions of Jurassic Park 3 that you have read over the years and all the knowledge about the various concepts, has anything very specifically stood out?
Well, that's a good question. No, I mean, I think not so much from like scripts. I mean, more so like, I guess the feel of what I expected, what I wanted to see more of in JP3 is like kind of like that feeling of, I mean, with Jurassic World, staying away from going back to an abandoned island too much. I mean, Rebirth generally, just like the feeling I get from watching it is what I've been seeking, since JP3. I mean, some of the abandoned scripts, a little bit more lab time. Yeah, that catches on from the trailer, but
the reason I ask is David. I get the impression that David Koepp and Steven Spielberg, when they were concepting Rebirth, like I get the impression, and maybe this is just the way I kind of perceive things, but Spielberg got out his kind of archive of here's all the old scripts, here's all the JP4 ideas he had through the years. It's the Amblin archive of JP ideas. Let's go through them. Let's see what we can pick out, and let's also and David Koepp probably came in with his own bunch of brand new things too. I kind of get like they must have gone over their own archives of things that they didn't produce in the end. And
I'm sure. I mean, I also feel like David Koepp, I mean, I think he probably knows the most about Jurassic Park and the Lost World at this point. Like that's living, right? I mean, him and Michael Crichton worked closely together. I mean, he studied the novels, right? He had to. So, I mean, I think it's almost with JP3 out. David Koepp didn't write anything supposedly, but he came up with the idea of like a simple rescue mission, right? That's like what we've been told. So, I mean, is it possible that David Koepp in the past 20 years never thought about like what he would have made JP3 if he had the chance? I mean, in my mind, he probably had this outlined in his head for years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it happened so quickly that he just had like, I mean, he's a writer, he's a pro. Like this guy, he's written so many like big blockbusters. I mean, I feel like this movie was just done. Like he had it kind of planned out. Then you meet with Spielberg, and Spielberg's like, I want to make the dino human hybrid, and Koepp's like, hey man, let's not do that yet. Let's hold off until like the 12th movie. Kind of talking down. So I mean, no, I do see what you mean. I mean, even with the raft sequence that's been in the novel, and they tried to fit into JP3 from the Craig Rosenberg script, which then there's like the storyboard of that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the more I think about it, yeah, I can see that. It's just kind of like
there's no specific like thing that we've caught on yet, but yeah, it's definitely a vibe. It feels like a vibe has been picked from those old ideas and they've run with it. David kept speaking about. He said that Jurassic Park and The Lost World were his favorite career highlights so far. And I love that because they're my favorite movies. So it's great that the guy who wrote them is like, yeah, it's the favorite thing I've ever done. And I'm like, hell yeah, man. That gives me even more faith that and it's something we've discussed on here before, is that what you just said. He there's no way he hasn't thought over the past 20 years, what would I have done? What would I have done in my third Jurassic, or after JP3, what would have come? He obviously would have thought that because he crafted the first two. He was so interested and invested in it. And I bet after the last three, regardless of your view of them, it's been enough time that, yeah, him and Spielberg meeting back up and chatting about these ideas. And I also get the sense with with Spielberg's Alien movie, which got a title, by the way, Disclosure. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
They changed the title from The Dish to Disclosure.
I didn't know it was The Dish before.
That was the working title, apparently. Anyway, David Koepp commented that Spielberg it's like kind of old Spielberg. It's like going back to what made him have the successful career he's got. And if he's doing that with his own UFO movie, I kind of think there's been a vibe shift on Spielberg's end, where he's kind of going back and looking at all these films he made back then. The Jurassic feels like it's going back. It's a good sign. It's a good sign that we might actually get something that feels like it fits in. The Jurassic World movies fit in for some people. They don't for me. So I am looking forward to hopefully Rebirth kind of like sits there as the JP4, because those are definitely the vibes I'm feeling from it. For now, it might go wrong.
it might, yeah.
So some people have reservations. I see
it might be a failed experiment.
It might be a bit of Amy. I see comments on our podcast and I see comments on our YouTube videos saying I'm still, people saying that they're still holding back their excitement because they've been burned 3 times, maybe 4, maybe 5. Some people don't like The Lost World. Some people think there's never been a good Jurassic Park sequel. So I understand people are holding back. It might look really good. It might not be very good. You never know. But
Jack, do you think The Lost World is the best sequel?
100%. 100%.
That's funny. Interesting.
Okay. You think JP3 is the best sequel, or are you?
Oh, hands down. I'm not saying.
Okay, all right.
Here's the Jurassic franchise has that problem where the first movie is such a classic, and to me, there's not a truly great sequel. As in, when I watch the Mission Impossible movies, I struggle to think like, what's the best Mission Impossible? There's 7 at this point, almost 8, and there you could pick like 3 of them that are probably the number one overall quality movie. They're consistently delivering. So with Jurassic Park, The Lost World, it's a solid movie. But yeah, JP3 is gonna.
That second Jurassic Park movie is such a classic too, though, right?
Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah, I do. Hashtag Jurassic Park 2. I feel like The Lost World for me fits up there as an ideal sequel. I understand people's dislike of it. Well, I don't quite understand it, but I feel like it's the perfect kind of sequel to, because what do? You can't do another, like, oh, we go to a different island and there's another park. They had to kind of do a different setup there, but I think tonally it stays in line enough.
David Koepp
does enough new things. David Koepp, great story.
You know what I've always said is interesting when you look at all the other sequel storylines coming out at the time, the comics, the games, stuff like that. They all went back to Jurassic Park. They kind of couldn't really move on from it, and then Michael Crichton writes his book and comes up with this complete new spin, Site B, all this jazz. Like, it really does take a strong creative mind, or maybe it's not necessarily about that, but like a bit of bravery to move away from a story that's so popular to what comes next.
And I feel like as an audience member from, as a kid watching the first one, the Lost World gave me all of the stuff I wanted and more. It didn't give me the same. It gave me like the island, abandoned, the jungle, which I wanted again. I wanted to go back to that place, but I didn't just want to go back to the first island. I feel like it does enough. And then it goes into the whole animal behavior.
Instead of one T-Rex, we have two T-Rex.
You have two T-Rex, but it's all about, Sarah Harding commentary about parenting and the behaviors that would attribute with that. I just kind of feel like it all comes together, and it's a lot. I guess it's a lot darker visually too, but it's a lot more like, more of a tone down than the brightness and excitement of the first one. But it still has all that, I guess, the stuff in the city. But then I love JP3 too. But I think JP3 has problems which are well documented. You've made
I agree.
an excellent series on that. What about series 2? Where are you at with your new episodes?
I'm still recording interviews, so I'll probably spend most 2025 recording, and then I'll just plan for the 25th anniversary of JP3 and release what I have. So
Okay, I'm pumped.
It takes me a long time.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you. Where are we at now with Jurassic Park 3? Because I think Alex has there's another iteration of the script somewhere that's floating around. Where are we at with JP3? How much knowledge do we have about? Because last time I think you were on, you had just discovered, or you had just been sent a version of the screenplay, which I can't even remember which version. I think it was from the year 2000. I'm trying to pull up my folder here.
Yeah, I mean, the earliest I've seen is the April 2000 is the one I do a reading of in my podcast.
Yes.
But I'm
Which is who wrote that one? That wasn't the Craig Rosenberg.
No, I think it's just Peter Buckman.
Yeah, the Buckman, that's it.
But I'm just nonstop, I mean, Craig Rosenberg, that's the one, that's the gold that's somewhere out there, right?
That's the one that we had, right? And am I right in thinking that's the one we assume has a lot more mainland?
I assume. I don't know. I mean, we've seen a lot of the storyboards from it. I think Jack Johnson.
This is the draft with like the raptors on the motorcycles and the raft up the river, and try to think what else. Basically, Grant and like a lot of kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like if MTV made a Jurassic movie.
Yeah, I think that's the one that Joe Johnson said was like a bad episode of Friends.
Oh yeah.
So,
wait, that's the Rosenberg one.
I'm pretty sure that's what he was talking about.
Oh. Okay. All right. So I have two screenplays here. One is titled Jurassic Park 3 April 2000, and the other one is titled Jurassic Park 3 script maybe May or June, Buckman.
Oh, is that one I sent you? Is that why it's probably like the maybe? That sounds like something
maybe I would do. May or June, Buckman. Yeah. So April 2001 that says maybe May or June.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So the Peter Buckman 12th of April 2000. It's the one that opens with the scuba divers, the Costa Rican yacht.
Love that.
Yeah. And then we're in
a yacht.
San
Sounds
Jose.
like Rebirth.
Okay, all right, yeah. And then the June one, maybe June. Where did I get to on this? Oh, it's still a yacht. Okay. Question. Parasailers. Then we're in Costa Rica. Okay, so this is the one that had a lot more.
Right, is it like a longer version? Because I think the one that I read in my podcast is like only 50 pages, and the May or June is probably like 100, I would guess.
Oh shit! Yes, 49 pages and then 104 pages. So you need to do an episode in your new season reading the 104-page version, I think.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if I'm going to do that or a combination, because I do like the one, I think it's from September, where they're on the raft with the John Hammond.
The pink, September 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll work on screen, but it's fun to read.
But for people listening out there who aren't as fully tuned into the JP3 backend history development lore. How many versions of the script do we have so far? Or how many versions of JP3 do we know that exist? Because the famous story is there wasn't quite a shooting script, but there is a script that kind of closely resembles what they did end up with, right? Like what we ended up with on screen, shall I say. There's like a kind of a film screenplay. But then I've got 2 versions here, and I know I've got one printed, which I think is different.
I got a list of 10.
You have 10.
I don't have 10, but I have a list of 10
okay.
so that we know exist. And
read that list.
That's conservative.
Read that list.
Well, we'll read each screenplay out. It's the April. There's obviously the Craig Rosenberg at least one draft. April 12th, June 7th, and then whatever the first draft was that Payne and Taylor came on for, and
Penn
then
and Teller wrote
Penn and Teller, yeah, Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor. September 1st, which is a revision. Peter Bookman came back and made some more revisions, and then September 25th, John August came on. That's pink. October 17th, John August, yellow. I only have like 10 or 12 pages of that. And then November 7th, Bookman came back again. December 7th, Bookman again. And then finally a continuity script, which is probably after the film was finished. They wrote, it's usually for like subtitling and stuff like that.
God, yeah, makes sense.
Well, it's interesting because it also has lines that aren't in the final film, so it kind of shows that maybe they did keep cutting even after that script was written.
That's interesting. I do have like a 5-page outline, which I think is what Buckman used for the April 2000, and it was sent to me from, I think, Jack Johnson, the storyboard artist. It's pretty similar, but there are some like mention of like Udesky having a machete, like as a weapon.
Yeah, man! They should have done that. That would have been great.
Was he still called Udesky at that point, or was he called that at all, or was he called something else?
Oh, that's a good question, right? Because Udesky in some versions dies right away.
Yeah,
that was storyboarded.
The only reason I ask the shooting schedule that literally was, hang on. It was August 18th, and they started shooting on August 30th. The whole way through it, he's called Ordesky. So it's like, did they change his name 12 days before, somewhere in the last 12 days before shooting, or
right?
Or is it just a mistake? Is it just a typo?
Like Billy's last name changed too, I think. Later, like.
Yeah, he was Hume and became
right. Yeah, Billy Hume. Yeah, I'll have to find that outline. I have it somewhere, but
me desky, you desky, them desky. I don't
know. So which screenplay do we have or know about currently that is the one that has the most mainland? Or am I just totally wrong in thinking that there was a JP3 screenplay that focused on some Costa Rican stuff? I swear that for a long time, that's what
it's the earliest Bookman draft had that subplot on the mainland with a whole different cast of characters
in Costa Rica.
Yeah,
Daniel, keep me honest.
Yeah, because that's the April 2000, the 50-page like kind of treatment that has Costa Rica. So I assume the one that I sent you, that's the May or June Buckman draft, is like the full 104 pages. I assume that still has Costa Rica in there.
Theoretically, it should just be a full draft of that first outline, because I think even from then there must have been a subsequent draft.
Are they investigating raptors?
Yeah,
I need to read these again, man.
They don't ever actually find a raptor. It's
what are they investigating in these screenplays?
I think they have like someone that was killed. And
was it something washed up on the beach, or is that again?
Well, there was one like fishermen had some. They did like a pteranodon. They thought it. I think the pteranodon is what convinces the cops that are investigating it that it's legitimate. Whereas earlier, at one point in the script that I read, they go into a small village and they lift a tarp off this cage, but it's like a large iguana, like. Something like that. So
yeah, that's coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I should have read these all before the pod, but yeah, because I remember for a long time, the knowledge we had was that before you had discovered any of these actual drafts, the knowledge was sort of a combination of interviews and from the production books that told us the idea was like they were investigating on the mainland, and then there was a concurrent story that was happening on the island on Sauna, and by the end of the film. But then Joe Johnston had said it was too complicated, it was too complex, and the mainland stuff didn't feel fleshed out enough. Is that right? Like they couldn't find the right balance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's. I mean, it all in the April 2000 script. It just kind of leads to the ending where the army shows up and just starts bombing everything. When they realize, oh, there are dinosaurs, in Costa Rica or on the mainland, they got to take care of it. So it kind of leads to that, but
Yeah,
I can see where they need to simplify it when they're running out of time to make the movie. I mean, they were, filming January before it was released in July. They kind of wrapped it up in January, I think. So
that's why I'm always so frustrated that they didn't rush and pursue another. Because as much as I'm not for just milking it, like I know I'm self-aware enough that I'm aware I run a website and a channel for Jurassic Park, which is about to make its 7th sequel. I'm aware of that, but like I'm not really one for like this whole Hollywood like sequels, remakes, and all that. But I wish they had pushed through and made JP4 back then, because I bet like even when I spoke to Shelley Johnson, he was like, oh, we wanted another go, we were so ready to make another Jurassic and do it almost do it justice again. And
yeah.
I wish they had pursued and pushed through, because I bet some of those ideas, and maybe they would have really worked out those kinks, and JP4 could have been that JP3 story that was ended up really simplified, and without kind of a third act too. I think I wanted, even though we had the great sequence with the Spinosaurus on the lake, I kind of wanted it on the river. I kind of wanted another Spinosaurus appearance at the end there. I think that kind of like as they're finally leaving the island, it's like gives them a nice send off,
Bye, guys.
I take it. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, yeah. And this Craig Rosenberg. Rosengrant is the guy.
Jeff John Rosengrant.
Grant is the guy that Sam Neill
guy who wore the Raptor
portrays,
suit, right? On JP3.
Yeah. John Rosenberg, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so that version of the script is supposedly the one that, quote, read like an episode of Friends.
I'm pretty sure, which makes sense because I don't think Joe Johnson would say that about Peter Buckman, considering that he kind of worked on it throughout filming. Hopefully not. If I'm recalling right, I think it was about the Craig Rosenberg script. So.
And we don't have that Craig Rosenberg script.
Rosenberg. No, but somebody does. Somebody has it out there, and probably like some, storage unit in a box just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex, that isn't one that you've come across.
No, literally just storyboards. That's I think all we've ever seen of it. Okay. And these couple of quotes.
And is that the one that had Grant living on the island, or is that also a different idea?
You know what? He might well have been, because the kids are in. Yeah, you know what? I would imagine it must have been, because the kids are. Wasn't it this whole story of two planes, and like the plane with the kids crashes and they end up with Grant. But then randomly in the storyboard for I think the raft, there's another man with them. I never understand. The storyboard I think calls him Agent or something like that. He's just a bald man.
Oh, the bald coffin guy, yeah.
Yeah. So
Men in Black orchestrating the mission there. Like,
well, it's a little confusing.
But it would make sense because in the storyboard, Grant has long hair and like a beard on the raft. So that would make sense. I mean, with the
I
Peter
am glad
Buckman,
that they didn't go with that route, because that.
I was gonna say, I hope we get that someday of Grant secretly living on the island.
Living on
I love that. I love it so much. I mean, the Peter Buckman script ends with Grant just like saying bye and like walking into the jungle.
But do you feel like that? I haven't thought about it enough to know if I would accept that as Grant.
I would only accept it if at some point in the movie they came across some structure that was like secure, like some building where Grant could like go to. If he was just like running into the woods to hide, I mean,
after Dominion, Grant just wanted to leave society forever, I think.
Yeah, but after the first one, I don't know. I can't. I'm glad they didn't go with that down as character route, because I understand the divorce, or not divorce, the breakup with Ellie.
Mm.
I really like that about JP3. I think it's such a brave move, and I think it's also very logical. You know, when couples go through a ordeal like that, a disaster, and also near death, it might have a strain on the relationship that's too sort of too dangerous to get out of. I understand
Yeah.
that. I think it's really smart writing, but him voluntarily going to live on the island, like I don't know. I don't know if I would buy that. Maybe
Well,
maybe now, like Caleb said, that is kind of his character in Dominion. He's kind of at that point now where he's like, you know what, I am actually done with it. I'm done with society.
I guess when you look at his arc in JP, like he's actually quite fascinated. You think about him watching the galleys and talking about their behavior and how it proves their theories. Same with the Brachiosaurus. And then JP3 chose to go the other way with his kind of characterization. Like, no, he's going to double down on who he is. He doesn't believe these are real dinosaurs and there's anything to learn from them. He's still a paleontologist. He's more isolated now. He's separated from Ellie. All his funding's dried up. It's an interesting take. And then throughout the course of the film, we see him kind of accepting the InGen dinosaurs a bit more. Like almost from the moment he arrives on the island, he's sort of fascinated by them again. The way the raptors call to each other, the pteranodons and stuff. He's got a real genuine interest. So I think, we should, after JP3, have seen a real shift in him. Like the drafts that have him saying that he wants to come back actually would have been a really good point for characterization for him.
Oh
And then
yeah, true.
we flash
We
forward
have to
20
go
years
back.
and he's still in a tent digging up dinosaurs. Nothing's fucking changed.
Literally, the end of season, was it end of season 2 of Lost or end of season 3 of Lost?
I think it's the end of season 3 or 4. But
yeah, with the beard. We have to go
Three.
back.
we were never supposed to leave.
Yeah, that's Grant to Ellie at the end of JP3. Is like, we have to go back. Yeah, actually, you're right. After JP3, putting that in and having him leave the island almost a bit pensive, a bit. Actually, I don't know if I want to leave. I kind of want to study these raptors more, because it's a great setup in JP3. The JP3 we did get, when he's talking to Ellie about, you remember the sounds they made? It's so great because it sets up everything you're going to see. I just love that little bit of communication. And maybe after JP3, yeah, maybe that's when we got the Grant living on the island. They should have pushed through. They should have made JP4 back then. Maybe we would have got bearded Grant living on the island.
I love that he's talking to the parrot in the cage, and then later on the island, he's talking to the parrot in the cage.
Yeah. He used to know me. Man, I love that film. That's one thing I wish we knew more of too, is obviously there's not a final screenplay as such, because we know how they ended up filming the movie, but I would love to know how much ended up on the cutting room floor. Not just conversations, but how much of the actual movie ended up being completely stripped out, because we don't really have a great understanding of how much is missing. Have you got, Alex, you mentioned
So yeah, this is really interesting. So in fact, we've got a few call sheets, like 2 or 3, plus 2 different shooting schedules. And the tricky thing with it is that obviously the screenplay changed so many times during production that like these tend to be accurate for the first week or so, and then you can't really guarantee it after that. So like this one, it does have a few scenes in there that didn't make it to the final cut. And I would say the scene of Eric filming Ben getting killed by the raptors, they very likely filmed that. Like at first, I was kind of like, nah, no way, they didn't shoot that. And when you go back and watch the film and Eric says like, oh, the camera's still on, and he reaches up and you think he turns it on, I'm about 99% sure actually they filmed him taking the camera off Ben, and then they hear something in the jungle or whatever. He runs off into the brush and then the raptors attack him. There's a little scene of Eric finding the candy wrappers in the embryonics administration after the group have gone through. I'm pretty sure they shot that. But then
to show that he was on their tail kind of thing. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like tracking. So that's how he found Grant so easily.
I understand why they would have cut that out from the pacing of the lab and running out of the lab and stuff. I understand why they wouldn't want to cut away from that, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Like here originally, I guess this must have been what they were going to film instead of his big presentation. It says hearing room, Washington, D.C. Grant gets turned down. And that's kind of, we see more of a university lecture style presentation, don't we?
Yeah.
So I think this...
In one of those drafts, isn't he showing off footage from sauna of
I think I've read that somewhere. Yeah.
of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, one of the drafts has it. Yeah.
Yeah, so as if he's been there, or it's archive footage, or he's somebody's been there to get.
Yeah, it's a
footage,
documentary crew.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is interesting. So again, this is from 12 days before they started filming. It was Nash that was supposed to get killed. Nash tries to stand up to raptors, gets killed instead of Udesky, which
So
kind of
did
shows
Udesky
again.
die with the Spino, or was the story different?
Again, this isn't in like film order; it's in shoot
Oh, yeah,
order.
that's right, it's crucial.
So it's really hard to find when, and it's not complete by any means. But yeah, perhaps.
Because Paolo found Daniel. I'm sure you saw the picture of Nash cut in half.
Oh yeah,
That's what it looked like. It looked like a picture of Nash, complete like legless in the Spino's
did.
jaws. Love that picture. But it's obviously not. It's just he's obviously not missing his legs in that picture, is what I'm saying. But it's a cool pic. I love that we're still so many years on finding all this. That was promo material, wasn't it? That was for the Academy Awards. Like,
oh yeah, something like that.
something
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
like they submitted it for visual effects or special effects or something.
yeah, live action dinosaurs. Yeah. So we need to get hold of the Craig Rosenberg script. Yeah. Bug. We need to get hold of that. There was potentially one or a treatment or something before that. Although no, we've kind of assumed that maybe that was the one with Grant living on the island. Maybe there was one before that where that was mainly the story was about Grant being on the island. We know that was chucked very early on. And then there was these Peter Buckman drafts, which Alex, you listed out of
about
all the
10 of them. Yeah.
10 of them.
Wow. Amazingly, they do vary from the very first to the last. The big points are there. You've got the aviary, something about the river, the lab, but it's the faces and the kind of character motivations more than anything else that kind of change, and everything just scales down that little bit. It becomes that bit more insular,
contained,
and the ending just
definitely
changes every fucking 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the thing in the final movie, you can see the sequences that were mapped out earlier on: the plane sequence, the lab sequence, and the aviary sequence. The aviary especially feels very close to what it was supposed to be in one of those earlier
best
scripts.
part of the movie.
Yeah, it is the best part of the movie.
Is, yeah.
Visually as well, like it's such a new environment for Jurassic, and putting that danger of the elevated levels that could collapse under you and stuff. It's such a great, terrifying moment. And that's something Shelley actually said in the interview with him. He talked about how that visual style, the darkness and the mist, was something they wanted to do a lot more of in the fourth movie. They wanted it to be darker and visually more like the birdcage sequence, which I love. It would have been great to go there. And kind of is a little bit what we're getting with Rebirth, what we're seeing, a lot of that darker, the lab was noticeably dark. I don't know. It looks good. I'm excited. You were just in Orlando. We talked about that, but there's a new uni park coming. Caleb, you were mentioning this before. The one in Texas.
Yeah, technically there's actually two now, I guess, because Epic Universe is going to open in Orlando in May, and then this Universal Kids theme park is opening in Frisco, Texas. I don't remember exactly when, but it's I think it's 2026 actually. But yeah, it's gonna have Universal properties, but like more targeted towards kids. So like Camp Cretaceous, How to Train Your Dragon, all sorts of stuff like that. And I don't think it's gonna be like as big as the parks in Orlando or anything like that. I think it's sort of a smaller thing, but yeah,
makes sense, I guess. Yeah. I was going to ask Daniel, do they still have the Spinosaurus in Orlando?
Oh, of course they do.
They do, yeah. Is it in front of the Jurassic Park Jeep? The Explorer.
The Jeep.
The Explorer or the Wrangler?
No, it's the Wrangler Jeep.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, at least they still have that. When I was when I was reading up about Japan, because the island, is it Islands of Adventure or is it just Universal Studios Japan?
Just Universal Japan, yeah.
Universal Japan. Yeah, a few years ago they had an animatronic they had like a Spinosaurus animatronic that they would bring out. Like, hey, look, meet the spine. Like, what the hell? And Alex, you said they got rid of that now. It's not there anymore or
I
something.
think oh no, Josh might have said they got rid of it. Yeah, I mean it was quite a while ago now, and they've had a lot of other attractions come and go since. Japan loves like street entertainment, so they roll stuff in and out all the time.
Yeah,
But
there's
it
like a
looked
dinosaur
uncanny.
parade. Yeah, there's a dinosaur parade there. So
I just love the idea. Imagine a bunch of. Sorry, there's a siren. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that siren? Oh, it stopped. There's a lot of fire trucks going past today.
You did have an earthquake.
earthquake.
It was an earthquake, but it's a bit late. It's delayed. It was like an hour ago now. Come on, that's old news. No, I love. Yeah, I was going to say that animatronic. I'm sure it's been destroyed now, but that animatronic at the Japan one, when I saw it,
They used it in Rebirth.
yeah. But imagine giving that to a bunch of like indie filmmakers who just like love Jurassic. They want to shoot something. You give them an animatronic Spinosaurus, like the top half.
Oh no, they've killed themselves.
yeah. They got crushed. No, imagine the stuff that we could create with that. That would be so much fun.
Just tiny sidebar, just because you just said something that triggered something really, really random in the back of my brain. I read this ages ago and I'd never heard it before. You know the scene in Lost World of Kelly and Sarah in the tent and the Rex head comes in?
Yes.
So, and I don't know why this never triggered, because obviously the animatronic is huge. So they're up on a raised platform. That tent's not on the stage floor, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Those are fake bodies in the sleeping bags. They're standing up.
Yes, they're stood in the ground.
Yeah, because they couldn't risk having the weight of the T-Rex head above their bodies. And I was like,
fall on
nuts.
them, yeah.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
I think it was the actress, Vanessa Lee Chester. I think she was the one who said that in an interview with the Jurassic Cast podcast, I think.
That scene looks great, but it makes you look at it differently. You're like, oh, they're standing on the ground.
Yeah, it's effective. That's a great scene. It's
yeah,
that
it looks great.
That I think we're all hoping for in Rebirth. A lot of that very close, very tight. Like we can't move and we get out of it. I don't think they fully. I think they tried to achieve that in Dominion with the Jeep rolling over the cliff, and then
that didn't fucking work.
It
didn't make any sense.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah, that didn't quite work.
It was bad editing and bad shooting. Like it made no sense.
We're teetering.
Yeah.
But like the shot before, you saw it rock back. It looked like it was fine. Like it just made no sense.
Yeah, it was a strange sequence. Daniel, talk to me about JP3. What else will excite me about this movie? What else have we learned over the past? You uncovered some new photos since we last talked as well. What was his name? The guy that the black and white photos that you released from set.
Oh, from the production assistant.
Yeah, the production assistant. What was his name?
Jocko. Yeah.
Jocko. Yeah.
No, he was great to talk to, and like very excited to talk about Jurassic Park 3. And his time on the film. But yeah, the one picture he sent me like 3 pictures, him and the Spino, that he took with his camera, and then the picture of Billy Grant and then Jocko standing there like just on set, that was taken by the set photographer, I think Zaid Rosenthal. Which, I mean, we need more photos from that guy. Like there's not quite enough. And this is a side note, I have the JP3 soundtrack on CD, the new release from like a couple months ago.
Oh yeah.
And they put, I think mine says Jade Rosenthal, and I caught it immediately because I know too much about Jurassic Park 3 when they spell someone from the crew's name wrong. But, no, I mean, we'd love to see what other pictures are out there, because there's probably hundreds more just behind the scenes still photography that we have not. They assume nobody cares, probably. It's just like when I interview someone from JP3, like even Jocko, like asking like, well, what did they film that didn't make the movie, or this and that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Like nobody cares as much about JP3 as like probably us. You know what I mean? Like regular people aren't like piece together what scripts are out there, where there's like, I don't know, we just wrote stuff. It's changed this around. Like we're trying to like detail it, piece by piece, but
it's a different experience for them for sure. Being there and because I'm looking at this picture now of the one from the one of Sam Neill, Billy and Jocko, and Sam Neill's holding a camera, like he's holding a film camera, and you're like, oh, I need to see those pictures. Like, what did
Yeah,
you
and I don't
like?
know if that's Jocko's camera or not. I mean, it's pretty cool that Jocko. It was a different time, like that Jocko had his own personal camera, on set. Because I worked as a production assistant on the Winter Soldier and the Avengers, and it was like if you see someone taking pictures with their cell phone, like that's like a get on the radio and report them kind of thing. So it was a different time, but there's probably a lot that we have not seen that's just
For
sitting out
sure.
there on some memory card or in a box in a closet.
It definitely was a different era, and going back to Bob's Hawaii movie tours, Bob's movie tours in Hawaii when they were filming JP3, and Bob Jasper just went on down to the beach, found some pages from the script, took them,
And yeah, just started
uploaded them.
releasing them.
Yeah, putting it on Bob's movie tours. I'll never forget. It was a totally different era, but
Oh man.
that was so funny. Well, where can people find you, Dan? Where can they? I know Stuck on Sauna, right? Stuck on Sauna podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, you can find me at Stuck on Sorna, Instagram, X. Podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, some other places. I don't use X as much as I used to, but definitely Instagram is probably the best place to find me.
Okay, yeah, and I'm seeing that you got a link tree here as well, so people can go to if they want link tree Stuck on Sauna. Yeah. Oh, you're stuck. Your last podcast. Okay, so the last podcast that you were on with us was 129, and this is 149.
Yep. Yeah.
So 20 pods ago you were on.
Nice.
Man, time
We did the
flies.
same thing with Tom in the last episode, by the way. 148, and the last one he was on before that was 128.
Really?
Who was on 130?
Yeah, who was on 130?
I don't know. We got to get him back.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, yeah, I can see your last podcast is on the top of your link tree. Wow. But people go check that out. Subscribe if you're a Jurassic Park 3 fan, or if you're just a Jurassic fan in general, you love history, you love learning about Jurassic. You need to listen to Stuck on Sauna podcast because is it 6 episodes in total for now? Or is
It's 8, but there's also an intro and a part 2 to 8. So technically 10 episodes. But
10 episodes all about the production. There's interviews with all different people involved. You got some great talent in there, and it's only going to get more. But people should subscribe to that. They can find you on X. They can find you on Instagram, as you said, Stuck on Sauna, Dan Steven. Thank you for joining us, man. It's been great talking JP3, and in 20 episodes, we're going to do this again.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Great. And any final thoughts, anybody on Rebirth, on JP3, on David Koepp's Jurassic Park 3? Because I think that's what we're getting.
David Koepp's Renaissance.
The Renaissance of David Koepp.
There it
Actually,
is.
what are we going to call this episode? What was
Probably
the episode
that.
called?
That was a good suggestion just then.
The Renaissance of David Koepp.
Yeah.
What was the last one with you? Oh, it was called Stuck on Sauna.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. Stuck on
name.
whatever this. We need in 20 episodes time. We'll do Stuck on whatever this new island's called.
Yeah, we'll have thought of a title by then.
Yeah. All right. Peace. Links in the description. Thank you for listening to the InGeneral podcast. Dan, have a good day, man.
Thank you too.
Paint and Tile Plus.